I said yes. I said it without thinking, without breathing. And the second I saw the look in his eyes, so calm, so sure, I felt the floor shift under me. He was only 27, barely older than my youngest son. But in that moment, in the silence between his question and my answer, I forgot everything. The aching weight of my divorce, the whispering women at church, the mirror that reminded me every morning that time had not been kind. He was just my massage therapist, a boy with warm hands and quiet eyes. Until the day he leaned in close, looked me straight in the soul, and asked me something no man had dared ask in years. And I said yes. But I did not know what that yes would cost me. I did not know it would unravel everything I thought I had rebuilt. Before I go any further, I want to take a moment to say thank you to every single one of you watching this story. To our amazing subscribers, thank you for staying with this channel. You truly keep us going. And if you are new or just stopping by for the first time, I am so grateful you are here. I hope you hit that subscribe button right now. It means more than you know. Your support fuels every single story we share. Please do not forget to like, comment, or thoughts, and share this with someone who loves powerful true life stories. Now, let me tell you how it all began. With pain. And not just the kind in my back. My name is Melinda. I live in Billings, Montana. I am 53 years old, and when I first walked into that wellness spa, I was barely holding myself together. My divorce had drained me. 30 years of marriage gone. I felt invisible, unlovable, like someone who had aged out of attention. I did not go there to find comfort. I went because my left shoulder was burning and my sleep was broken. That is where I met Gordon. He walked into the treatment room with this calm energy, young but composed. He looked more like someone who should be chasing girls on Instagram, not needing tension out of old women's joints. Still, when he placed his hands on my shoulders, something strange happened. I did not just feel relief. I felt seen. Too much stress, he said softly. You carry pain like it is your job. I laughed. A dry, tired laugh. It kind of was. That first session, I thought it was just professional charm. But over the weeks, I noticed things. The way he remembered small details, my favorite tea, how I slept on my right side, that I hated jazz music. The way he added just the room temperature before I arrived. And the way his hands lingered, not in a wrong way, but in a knowing way. I told myself I was imagining it, until one Thursday evening. He asked if I wanted to stay after. Just a talk, he said. I can tell you are carrying more than physical pain. I should have said no. Instead, I sat there on that padded table with my knees tucked under me like a nervous schoolgirl. And I listened to him talk about his childhood, his parents' cold marriage, how he learned to read emotions through touch. And for the first time in a long time, someone asked me, "How are you really doing, Melinda?" I told him the truth. All of it. That night, I dreamed about him. Not in any scandalous way, just comforting, present. And it scared me. The next appointment, I kept my distance. I was short, formal, even cold. But as I gathered my coat, he stepped into my space and said something that knocked the air out of me. What if you gave someone younger a chance? I stood frozen. His voice hung in the air like smoke, soft, dangerous, impossible to grab. What if you gave someone younger a chance? He had asked. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I needed to hear my own voice to remind myself this was real life. You are 27, Gordon, I said, avoiding his eyes. And you are 53, he replied, without flinching. So what? So what? I carried that question home with me that night. I stared at my reflection for a long time. Every line on my face suddenly felt louder. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, I counted them like they were sins. But I also remembered how alive I felt when he listened to me. How he never once made me feel old or broken. He just saw me. The next few sessions were careful, tense, He did not bring it up again, but his eyes spoke louder than his words. He never crossed the line physically, but emotionally, we had already stepped across it. One rainy Saturday, I canceled my appointment. I told the receptionist I needed time to think, and the next morning there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Gordon standing there, holding a coffee cup and a brown paper bag. "I remembered you like banana nut muffins," he said. He sat with me at the kitchen table, surrounded by my faded curtains and dusty books. We did not talk about massages. We talked about life. He told me how he never felt connected to people his age, how his parents' marriage taught him what not to do. And then he said something that stripped me of all defenses. "Melinda, you are the first person who listens to me like I matter." I broke down, not because I loved him, not yet, but because I realized I was starving for that kind of attention, that kind of presence. I was not foolish. I knew what it looked like from the outside. A woman over 50, a man in his 20s. People would call it desperate, embarrassing. My grown daughter, Rachel, had already commented on my spa obsession in a tone laced with suspicion. But I kept seeing him, outside the spa, quiet places, coffee shops, long walks. It never got inappropriate, but it always felt dangerous. Then one evening, I came home from grocery shopping and saw something that turned my stomach. Rachel was in my house, holding a photo I had forgotten to take down. It was a candid shot of Gordon in my kitchen, smiling, holding a spatula like he owned the place. Her face turned red. Her voice dropped to a whisper laced with poison. "Please tell me this is not what I think it is." I told her it was nothing. Just a friend. Just someone who listened. She did not believe me. She stormed out, calling me pathetic under her breath. I felt the shame pour over me like cold water. So I decided to end it. I called Gordon the next day and told him I could not see him anymore. That it was a mistake. That I had confused gratitude for affection. He did not argue. He just said, "If this is what you need, I respect it." And then he added, "But it will not stop me from loving you." I did not know what to do with that. So I did nothing. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. I went back to my old therapist. He was older, polite, and distant. There was no music, no warmth, no banana nut muffins. And then one quiet Sunday morning, I opened my front door to get the newspaper. And there he was, on one knee, holding something small in a black box. My breath left my body. It was my wedding ring, the one I thought I had lost years ago during a move after the divorce. He found it. He had kept it. And now he was holding it out to me, asking me to wear it again. But this time for him, the world went silent. He held out my old wedding ring like it was something sacred, like it meant nothing, that it once belonged to a man who broke me. I wanted to ask him how he found it, why he kept it, why now? But instead, I whispered one word, too fast, too uncertain. Yes. He slipped it on my finger as if it had always belonged there, as if our story had been written long before we met. I should have cried. I should have screamed. But I just stood there in my doorway, shaking. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My heart pounded, not from joy, but from something deeper. A warning. A voice in my gut that whispered, "You are not being rescued. You are being rewritten." The next few weeks were a blur of emotions and confusion. I wore the ring in secret, afraid of the world and what it would say. Rachel found out 2 days later. She came to my house red-eyed, holding a printed screenshot of Gordon's Instagram account. Pictures of him smiling with a woman who looked eerily like me, only richer and colder. Another older woman. Another client. From 4 years ago. "You think this is love, Mom?" she said, her voice trembling. "This is his pattern. You are not the first." I felt my stomach twist. I confronted Gordon that same night. His face did not change. He stayed calm, too calm. Yes, he said. Her name was Eleanor. She helped me through a tough time. But it ended. I never lied to you about that. But you never told me either, I replied, holding back tears. You made me feel special. You are special, he said, stepping closer. You are just, not perfect. And neither am I. It was not what he said. It was the way he said it, like I should just accept it. Like my brokenness made me easier to shape. I realized then that Gordon never wanted me. He wanted the space I filled. The silence I gave him. The praise. He wanted someone who would never challenge the fantasy he built in his head. And I had fallen for it. I took off the ring that night. I placed it on the counter, right next to the half-eaten banana nut muffin he brought me earlier that morning. Then I picked up my phone and called my daughter. I told her everything. Every mistake. Every emotion. She did not say much. But she stayed on the phone until I stopped crying. That was enough. Now, months later, I walk by the spa every Saturday. Sometimes I catch a glimpse of Gordon through the window, smiling, charming, pressing into someone else's pain like he did with mine. I do not hate him. I do not even pity him. I simply understand him now. People like Gordon are drawn to the cracks in others. They do not heal you, they inhabit you, until you forget who you were before they arrived. I said yes because I was lonely, but I walked away because I was finally tired of being empty. If you are watching this and you have ever been in a place where love felt more like rescue than choice, I hope my story reminds you, you are not broken. You are not too old. And you do not need to be anyone's project to be worth loving. Thank you so much for watching my story. Please drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Would you have said yes in my shoes? If you found this story powerful, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world and keeps these stories alive. Until next time, take care of your heart. No one else will do it for you.